Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond, and I'm a minister, spiritual life coach, holistic nutritionist, author, and founder of Redefining You LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And if this is your first time joining us on the How Now podcast, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. Be sure to go to my website, www.hownowpodcast.com. Click on your favorite podcast platform and be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. You can also scroll to the bottom of the page and click on the banner for this week's show, and it will take you to the How Now YouTube channel where you can like, follow, share, and subscribe there as well. And make sure that you hit the notification bell so you always know what's happening in the now. And be sure to check out my playlist, which has previous shows that we've aired over the last 4 years, and also check out my playlist for Tuesday and other things that are going on in my now. And again, that's www.hownowpodcast.com. Enjoy the show. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about the transition from service to civilian. And, when we talk about those who have served in the military, those who may have had a long time where they were, serving our country, and even those who may have had a shorter stint with, in their branch of the military. When they come out, it's a different world. It's a different world from what they experienced while they were in the military, and to come out and to try to establish the same type of life that you were accustomed to living or what you were trained to do begins to look different. And so, to help me to talk about this and to understand what that transition looks like and what he has experienced is my guest. And so, as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have him to introduce himself at this time. Take it away, Kim.
Hey, I greatly appreciate this platform to speak at, and for you being gracious enough. And hey, it's about working together, collaboration, and understanding. My name is Philip Ayles. I'm the founder and CEO of Ayles Solutions. And what we do, we empower people to heal their warrior mindset by using a powerful mindset of love, because a lot of it had to do with my self-awareness. When you're in the military and everything, you do everything you can to complete our missions. And that's what we live for. Your training and everything you do is to support whatever mission that you're going on and things that you need to know to be successful. Well, you get into that rhythm for years and years, and you don't realize on how much you become institutionalized, because they take care of your food, your transportation, everything that you need so you can focus on that mission. Well, in the civilian world, you don't get that paycheck, that equipment, that whatever. And honestly, it's harder to lose your job in the military than it is in the civilian side. Yeah, you'll get a punishment, but yet you still had a job and a career and moving forward. Well, in the civilian side, they all they know is, yeah, you were military.
Right.
Um, and it's about not living that life anymore, not having that camaraderie or that structure that you're used to. Uh, it's now you have nothing but time. And now you're used to a certain mindset of that warrior that I knew to fight, and I fought everything that I could that I thought was uh, different, to say the least. Um, and one of the things that I found out when I get out, they teach us to be not or be confident in what we do. Well, the civilians looked at as arrogance or cockiness.
Right.
Well, no, you have to, when you're dealing with other peers, you got to be sharp and know what you're talking about. And some of the leadership has been, or some of the training, or a lot of all the training is phenomenal. It's second to none for any type of managerial or leadership course or anything that you can go into. There's a course for it that gets you to that understand that standard of operating. That's why we have SOPs and stuff like that. You have to know all that. Well, I always enjoyed, because I was military police, that I was deployed to Germany because Kosovo popped off. Well, I got to spend 6 months there in Schweinfurt, Germany, learning about the German culture and getting immersed in it and how it all transpired and how what I was doing impacted the local community and creating it's community-based relations. And we saw the crime rate and everything plummet because we were actively involved in the community before they were just go off and sit somewhere in their barracks and not proactively patrol.
Right.
But coming back here to the civilian side, after working contract in Iraq, everybody told me I was overqualified. I mean, I couldn't even get a job as a waiter in a restaurant. And so I held on for about 2.5 years. And then I slowly got to see everything I owned disappear because those paychecks end. And yeah, I made phenomenal money over in Iraq. But why can't I make that money here?
Right. Right.
And I've checked all the blocks that I thought I needed to. I have a master's degree. I have leadership. I have combat. I have this. I have that. I have emergency management. I have so many different certifications and everything, and none of them matter. And I look at it as like, but I bring a wealth of knowledge and experience with me. Well, a lot of the hiring managers or the CEOs look at it and go, well, you've done more than I have. And they're like, you're a competition now, not an asset.
Wow. Well, one question I have, because I want to
Hmm.
scale, I want to roll back a little bit
Hmm.
and talk about how many years you served. When did you enter into the military?
I entered the military when I was 17.
17.
Right after my 17th birthday, my father signed for me to join the Army National Guard of Ohio. I was going to be set up for communication electronics, but I had no passion for it.
Mhm.
My passion was law enforcement. And did a lot of great things, went through a lot of good training. I did 24 years total. While I was in the National Guard, I went through earned my associates in criminal justice, and then went through the police academy, became a police officer. Couldn't afford to feed my family on $10 an hour, so I joined active duty military. Took my family from Dayton, Ohio to uh, just right outside Tacoma, which is Joint Base Lewis McChord. It was Fort Lewis back then. But I wanted a different environment for my daughters to grow up. And I needed to get out because I didn't realize I had a lot of PTSD from when I was a kid that I learned
Mhm.
in the last couple. I didn't think anything was wrong with me. And I realized I didn't have love in my life.
Mhm.
And so I was a people pleaser. And then I got tired of being taken advantage of. And then I became a cold person.
Mhm.
Um, but with the military, did 24 total. The hiccups that I had were because I thought I was right and they were wrong, and I lost. Even though they were wrong, I still lost because I didn't learn how to control my emotions.
Mhm.
And because I'm not a small guy, I'm not intimidated by anybody.
Right.
And that's what hindered me and put my ego and my pride put filters on the way I
Mhm.
saw the world. Because how can I hold you to a standard you know nothing of
Right.
and judge and this and that? I had to throw my ego aside and pride aside and do what I had to do for my family. And it wasn't until and I realized my first relationship I failed, my first marriage, but I have three beautiful daughters out of it. And no matter how much you try to prevent trauma, it still happens because we're human
Right.
and trauma's everywhere. It's just how you perceive it. And a lot of it was I felt like the success or failure of my whole family was solely on my shoulders. And I didn't have an option to fail. I had to succeed because there was other people relying on me.
Yeah.
And that caused to where I people pleased everybody else and made myself miserable in the process. And I had to learn to set boundaries. And you know what? The people that used me the most treated me the worst when I put up set boundaries.
Mhm.
They felt entitled to it. I was like,
Right.
There's no entitlement to anything." And part of that was because I was so fixated on what I was doing, I never really I never looked back and
Right.
saw how what I was doing was affecting my family directly and taking responsibility just for me only. And
Yeah.
knowing that every time I got angry, I lost period. Even though I was 100% justified why I was mad, I look at that's the way I grew up. That's how we communicated. We just beat each
Right.
other up.
Right. And just like you said, sometimes it's a matter of, yeah, even when we are right, sometimes it's that whole idea of responding as opposed to reacting. We respond out of knowledge. We react when we don't know or we're not clear. That's where you get some of the anger and you get some of the frustration and things like that, as opposed to when we respond when we know. So one of my questions is, like you said, you were in the military for a long time. You said 17 years. You served for 24.
24.
You served for 24 years, but you were 17 years old
Yeah.
when you entered. So you
Yes.
so did they, you know, you don't hear about it, and I'm not sure if it exists, but when you were going through some of these things, did they have people who were there to, therapists and things of that nature? Or is that something that did not exist in the military and it was only, after you exited the military that that was
Oh, it's a
even an
career
option?
killer. It was never an option because it was a career killer. If you said you had anything,
Right,
or how you got around it is you never asked, you never inquired, and you know what? And I realized how selfish and inconsiderate commands were because they enforced it,
right,
they encouraged it. Because what it ended up happening to be was deployability, readiness for the company. They had to be at least 76% or whatever ready to deploy at
right,
any time.
right.
So if you have half your guys, because I just seem to be a magnet for the narcissistic, egotistical, maniacal
Mm,
bastard that violated everybody's right for their own selfish gain. I had I didn't know when to keep my mouth shut, and I allowed my emotions to be expressed. And anxiety manifests itself in anger, and I was always angry at the world because I didn't understand it. Why did it have to be so damn difficult?
right.
And I guess because the military gave me a sense of identity,
Hmm.
because that was my constant between being National Guard, active duty, and then reserves. It was always my backup.
Right,
It allowed me to have the insurance when I needed it, or it it was always my sense of purpose and pride. Feeling good in my country. I've done some phenomenal things. I mean, I was in Korea when 9/11 popped off, but I got deployed to Fort Hamilton, New York when I first got back from Korea, and I spent 6 months there. Got to see New York,
right,
and I experienced it, went to the shows, did all this, was treated wonderfully. And then came back and then got deployed to the Pentagon. So I've been to that memorial to where the plane hit,
yeah,
talked to the police that were there on that day. And then I went to Iraq, sat in Saddam's chair in multinational forces headquarters in Camp Victory because I could. And I had top secret clearance. And I was law enforcement. So I went anywhere they would let me, because when would I ever be able to do that again?
right,
And that's what I gained from the military. I needed that structure. The universe and God told me I needed to go through the pain that I have to be who I am today, and be grateful that I'm 52 years old and get to get more of them.
yeah,
And I think that's what a lot of people lose. They get so focused in on their own problems and pigeonholed, they don't realize no one cares, because everybody else is out there hustling and trying to make ends meet for themselves and their families.
right,
And you no longer have that camaraderie and support of military organizations, or having the unit or command to take care of you.
right,
No, it's all on your own. You don't want to eat, you don't eat. If you want to blow your money on drugs, you do that, and you don't eat. No one's going to hold your hand in this world. And is it right for you to take from somebody else. Because once you do that, they own you. And the government owned me at one time. And there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about because of my security clearance.
Right.
And what I would, because the knowledge I gained was through other means
Right.
that I can't talk about. But to the most part, when it really comes down to it, no matter where you're at in this world, if you're in Korea, I've been where Seoul was home for a year. And I immersed myself in the culture and everything and learning, because when would I ever go back?
Right.
Oh, well, I would have to pay for it then.
Right. Right. Here's like I said, because you're talking about all the education, all of the
Hmm.
experiences and opportunities, like you said, to see things that you may not typically have had an opportunity to see. And so you have all of this exposure, all of this, like you said, institutionalism, all of these, opportunities to gain all of these different degrees and certifications and things of that nature. And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be set. And then you come back and it's almost it sounds almost as if the rug is pulled out from under you, because everything that you had was there, at your fingertips. You were saluted. When we hear that someone has been in the military, we salute you. We thank you for your service. And then when you come back, just like you said, all of the camaraderie, the brotherhood, all the things that were set in place, now you're dropped into wherever it is that you choose to live out the rest of your life. And it's just like, okay, so where do I start? So talk to me about that transition. Your service has ended. You choose to settle down, and just like you said, now it's like, okay, it's going to be easy for me to get a job because I've got all these degrees. And
Hmm.
so, and so what was the pivot?
My pivotal point in it all was I had went through equine therapy. And the whole premise was to handle the situation and then tell me 25 things you learned from it, you gained from that negative experience. Well, a lot of people don't look at it that way. It's more, yeah, it happened, but the way you perceived it, and you're like, I hate this person. Well, no, do you really? Because you know what? Without that pain, you wouldn't be as strong as you are today. And instead of looking at all the negative, and I had that with my first wife, because I saw her, I was killing myself for her to have a lifestyle and be with the kids that all I wanted to do is be with the kids. And she could care less. And I got it in my head she was not a partner, she was a dependent.
Mm.
And I got to a point after so many broken promises and this and that and all the other. I supported her. She neglected me. It wasn't reciprocated. I never felt loved. I felt as long as I could provide, then she was happy,
Right.
in which she was miserable. And the communication wasn't there because I was off living my life in the military, in exotic places and this and that, while she was at home with the kids.
Right.
So a little bit of animosity from her side. I was like, what are you talking about? You get a free house, free cars, everything. You haven't spent a penny of your own money on it. I said, I looked at it and it was, you've squandered opportunities most people would kill for, because she felt entitled. And I got a point where it was no longer conducive for me to stay in it. And I look at it, I would have stayed in Iraq if I hadn't taken her and let her move on to her next stage in life that was without the family. But and I realized that it was both of us. It wasn't just one. It was my thought processes and everything, because I'm with my current wife that I met here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's the only reason why I'm here. I was traveling around in Class A RV and living life just as a floater. And because I'd lost every materialistic thing I thought was important. And then if it didn't fit in the RV, I got rid of it and lived a simple life. And the engine blew, and now I'm here in Jacksonville, Florida, bought a townhouse and in debt. But that's the way they want you. They weren't happy when I didn't have bills. The system wasn't happy. And I started what I'm doing now, because I had to learn it myself. And it's just not my personal thoughts or whatever. I've been through other programs like Wounded Warrior Program, Operation Uniform, Who's, uh, Red, White, or Red Wings, or just there's so many. There's supposed 45,000 organizations in the United States to say to help veterans.
Wow.
Why do we have any homeless veterans, starving veterans?
Right.
And a lot of veterans don't know how to ask for help because we didn't need it in the military. Well, because we had it.
Right.
We don't have it now. And the VFWs and the American Legions are outdated. Their whole structure is outdated. That doesn't appeal to the video game generation.
Right.
No one wants to sit in a dark bar anymore
Right.
and sit there and get drunk and woe is me. No, everybody wants more active and everything. From the different events that I've attended here, because I don't have to work. I can live off of what I make, but it's not an extravagant life. I find out after you pay all your bills, you don't have money left to do anything else. And darn that thing called responsibility.
Right. It's like I
Because
said, you've been exposed to and given opportunity to see so many things, and then now you don't even have the means to go back or
no.
was a civilian.
Well, the thing about it is, yeah, I have my health, but I have no money. And I have nothing but time. So that's why I can do, because I realize what you end up doing in this world is selling your time.
Hmm.
And you educate yourself to be a more better candidate. Or it's like difference between buying a Ford Pinto or buying a McLaren. Do you want to be that Pinto or that McLaren or that Rolls Royce? And I've gone everywhere that I have, and what I learned in the military was I show up with 2 duffel bags. I can survive. But it's usually when you start taking care of somebody else, and then they're spending and everything, and next thing you know, you're like, what the heck?
Right.
and you find yourself not retired anymore because one, I'm bored and young. I'm only 52. I've got a lot of life left in me, and if I've done what my daughter is the one that kind of, it's like, Dad, yeah, that's all the stuff you did. What are you doing now?
Right.
I was drinking myself to oblivion
Mm.
because I was bored. There's nothing to do, so might as well drink. That's what you did when I was in the military. I did it in Iraq. They tell you there's no alcohol. That bullshit. There was a lot of alcohol there. And as a civilian contractor, I knew where to buy it. And as an MP, I knew how to get it on base. So woohoo! But
Right.
what it does, there was nothing else to do. It was like being in lockdown on COVID.
Mm.
But this you didn't want to go out into the population because you'll probably get killed. I was a white guy in a brown world. And that's where it boils down to that whole transitioning. And I've lived in both worlds pretty much most of my career and most of my life. And if I was successful at the things I've done, there's a high probability I'll be successful on anything, accomplishing anything. What we lose is that how do you get cats to herd? How do I get you to perform when I can't force you to do anything?
Right.
You could tell me to go pound sand and you quit. Well, you can't quit in the military, or you'll go to jail if you
Right.
try to quit. Well, civilians just have a bad day. And now they've taught our kids to be emotionally driven rather than logically driven.
Right.
Because emotionally driven people are easy to manipulate and control. All you have to they trigger so easily. And that's one of the things I had to learn. I had to learn to take control of my triggers
Right.
and find them, figure out what they were. And well, wait a minute, why am I getting upset over something that has nothing to do with me?
Right.
And that is something that I think a lot of veterans and first responders and everything, because we're used to helping others.
Right.
And in doing that, we neglect ourselves. And I neglected myself. And I realized through equine therapies, like what I said, I hated myself. I loved everybody else but me. I didn't understand why anybody would want to be with me. And so I tried to please everybody and end up pleasing nobody and making myself miserable. And I held myself to my own standard of understanding. What do you do when everybody thinks they're right? You, through your thoughts, your beliefs, and your experiences, you believe you're right.
Right.
And you come into a situation, well, there's five other people, and all five of them think they're right. Now, how do you get into something accomplished? Well, no, you win the hearts and the minds of them, and you get them to understand that we all play a part. And and then you understand the process to it all. If I'm having to do your job because you're not wanting to do it, I can't do my job and help everybody else. And you get them to take ownership of who they are and why they're there. Because if you're not in the right mindset, it doesn't matter. You'll go, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Well, it's going to suck. But
Right.
if you go, hey, I'm just making and that's what I did with Iraq. Yeah, there were some sucky times, but trust me, I've seen worse. I've seen worse even in this country.
Right.
And it's sad because we're the best experiment for a civilization on a that took 50 countries and put them together and made the most educated in the world. I mean, everybody sends their kids here because it's safe. They're not having political battles.
Right.
You know what? You could take one day of the Middle East, what one day we experienced in Iraq would shut down this whole country because they've dumbed down our kids since Obama took office. And now those kids are 27, between 25 and 30, and struggling because they allowed the corporations to take over. And it's not, and it goes away from the humanity what do you do when money's no object? I mean, they want us to worry about the 80 billion they're sending to Ukraine, but they're not talking about the 6.1 trillion they're spending. And I got into Intel and civil affairs and everything while I was in. And I got to see nobody talks. And that was the biggest problem with 9/11 is nobody talks because they assume the other one thinks one way or another. I can say we can have a conversation and I could tell you we can agree on 95% of things. Are we going to destroy a 95% success rate over a 5% difference?
No.
No, you go, I can deal with that 5% because I know what to look for.
Right.
I'm just not going to, I'm not going to, it's like throwing away a car because you got a flat tire.
Right. Right.
Well, car's junk now. No, you change the tire. There's a spare on it.
Right. Right. Right.
But what it is the fear mongering and everything that they've been doing. It's the propaganda that's been played against the American people. And it should be unconstitutional. But as you know, they have to do it and then get punished for it. But we all suffer in the process.
Right. Right.
And what I found out is, wait a minute, they teach us to integrate and learn in everything from other countries and tell us nothing about our own.
Right. Right.
Knowing the history of your location and why locals are considered locals, get that intel because it's quite arrogant to come in and expect a place to be like the place you just left and didn't like. And then you try to change it back to the way the crap place that you just left.
Right.
Don't
Right.
bring your garbage here. It doesn't work the same way. And I've been all over the United States. I haven't been to Alaska or above New York, but I've been all over the rest in Hawaii, and
Yeah.
it's all the same stuff. No matter where you go, it's just geographically different. Humans are humans. We bring our problems with us. And having open borders and everything, something's being done. There's something they're not telling us. because something's going on behind the scenes and I've been behind the scenes, and everything seems fishy right now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So like I said, now
But
uh-huh.
go ahead.
Now I'm saying I want to make sure that we talk about that whole, transition, like you said,
Yes.
from all that, and like you said, you're immersed in other cultures and things like I said, and then you come back here, and like you said, it doesn't seem like that same immersion of sorts takes place. Like you said, it's like you're going back in time. And now you're
Yes.
having to try to figure out, okay, wait a minute. I thought, you know, like you've seen advances in other countries, or you've seen things where things were in disarray, and now you come back here and you're just like, okay, I don't have the same status that I had anywhere
Mm-mm.
else in the world, and now I'm here, and how do I make that transition, and how do I deal with emotions that I was not, you know, I wasn't
Told to
trained, they were
repress.
wrong, right, that you were taught to repress. So and that for certain things, for being, like you said, a warrior, you were rewarded for that. But if you were take that same warrior, those same steps here, it may lead to your arrest. So it's just like, wait a minute. How do I transition from that and be able to do it smoothly when it was acceptable to do things one way here, and now it's not here, and there's nobody that, to help me make that transition. And of course, that's where you come in with your business.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just like, what were you seeing that, like you said, prompted you to start this business?
COVID. I had to get out of my own head and realize that I have to put things into perspective and realize if I want to know you, I have to understand you. And if I don't talk to you, and that was the biggest problem I saw in the federal government.
Mm.
They thought they were the egos. I've never seen so many inflated egos in my life as I had in the federal side. Incompetence was off the charts because they thought they were better than everybody else on this planet.
Mhm.
And but under the Stafford Act, the locals have first and foremost responsibility to respond to and recover from any disaster, man-made or natural. The federal government has nothing to do with it. It's when the resources get exhausted and they get overwhelmed that they use the federal after the state asks for requests for assistance. But it's all supposed to be handled at the lowest level. And when you get the federal government involved, everybody likes to hoard resources. And they don't realize this is the betterment. And then you have the general population that take advantage of natural disasters or whatever happens and defraud the system. But you can't throw away the system because some people take advantage of it.
Right.
Because what are you going to do instead? They're still going to take advantage of it. Whatever you choose. There's people that are completely shameless
Right.
and accept it, no matter how much you want to get mad or whatever. Why? You got to factor that in because if you don't, you'll give yourself an aneurysm. And that's why I've gone through the system and they treat you like you're subhuman if you ask for welfare or food stamps. I don't want money. I just want food. Food stamps. Well, they treat you like you. Why don't you do this? Why haven't you this? Why they judge you? And
Right.
you're like, how about you just shut up and give me what you're paid to do?
Right.
And for your attitude, you shouldn't be there because somebody else with a better mindset would be better. And that's where our system's not set up for the government to employ everybody. And because we all know fraud, waste, and abuse is live and well. And the problem is the bottom, the issue is not at the bottom, it's at the top where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Because by the time it gets down to the actual people doing the work, there's nothing left. Because they've subcontracted it down 4 times. And each one of them took their cut, the piece of the pie.
Right.
And that's why I realized that it doesn't pay to be the guy at the bottom. I want to know what the guy, that CEO, that president, the ones that are decision makers, why are they doing what they're doing? Because they have information we'll never have. And that's where the insider trading and like Nancy Pelosi's made millions and there's done nothing but public service. They've gotten rich, filthy, disgusting rich off of their insider information. But no, what do you do when everybody's doing it?
Right. Because it
And
almost
they
seems
will.
like it puts those further in the hole, and it's
Mhm.
like how do we help them to get out of that hole? You know, people come to
Well,
you and you know you've experienced these things, and now they're like, okay, so how do I get out of this hole? You know, it does start, you know, with knowledge. Knowledge is power, of course, and we can identify the things that are going on. But it's just like, okay, so how do I get out of this hole? I'm in this hole now, and I'm saying, Philip, how do I get out of this hole that I'm in? You know, when we see all of these things going on around us, how do how do I transition out of that hole?
um, realize that you get the opportunity to wake up every day. You get that up. It's not guaranteed because honestly, if you really take a step back and look at it on a macro scale, look at it from the viewpoint of the space station. Do you see boundaries on that? Do you think what Joey down the road is doing really matters in the whole scheme of the world or the universe? No, it's all stuff we make up. And if it wasn't for someone taking care of you until you could take care of yourself, and instead of looking at it going, well, mom and dad were forced to. No, they did it out of the kindness of their heart because you were their kid. Not all parents do that. Enough of them in the foster care system. A lot of them, a lot of people that go in the military come from broken homes or trauma from home because we're drawn to it. A sense of purpose and beyond what the horrors that we've already seen.
Right.
So when it came down to the major stuff, I was calm as a cucumber. Lost my keys at the house, lost my mind because I had no control over it because I wasn't paying attention because I was doing something else.
Right.
I was spreading myself so thin it was ridiculous. But that's the only way I knew to succeed because I got tired of being, oh, you don't have this. Well, I went and got that. Well, you don't have this now. Well, I went and got that. Well, now you need this. Now, okay, I got that. Now you're overqualified.
Right.
Well, what is it? Either and now I'm not qualified enough for the higher level, but I'm overqualified for everything else.
Right.
And when it comes down to it, none of these organizations care about your bills. They want publicity. So it's finding that organization out there that's truly doing it for the right reasons. And I don't do this for the money. I do it because they're not teaching us, or they're not giving us anything on the back end. Everything's for before or during, but once you get your DD 214, peace
Right.
out. Deal with the VA that's over booked and now understaffed
Right.
because it's money. They'd rather give it to the legal immigrants than our own veterans. That I sacrificed 24 years of my life for the military. I was willing to give it up to a blank check of my death because it could have happened in Iraq at any time. I was just fortunate enough that wasn't in the cards for me.
Right.
I survived it all. And now it's about now integrating back in, and instead of griping about things in your community, what are you doing to make it better? Everybody can gripe. What are the solutions? Are you part of the problem or the solution?
Right.
I could sit here the rest of my life, just drink myself to death, sitting on the couch doing nothing. With all this knowledge and experience going to waste. Or I can step up and get off the couch and out into the community. And that's where the making connections happens. Because everybody else that lives there have spent their whole life building what they have right now. You were over everywhere else doing it. Then coming back, they have no clue what's in your head and what your mental health is, because we're so high strung when we first come out. I was on edge and I was wanting to get it done and aggressive, and
Right.
everybody in the civilian side were going, "Oh, slow your horses there, cowboy."
Right. Right. Right.
He's like, it doesn't work like that here. And why not? We need to get this done by this time and this.
Right. Because that's how you were. That's
You
how
know
you
what?
were
You're no
positioned.
longer a fit. You're not a fit for this organization. Or you want, if you've been higher rank or whatever, you're used to doing it your way. Well, no one cares what your way is. It's how do you make me feel? And that's the same thing in realizing that men and women don't think the same way. We say the same thing but different ways
Right.
because we're problem solvers, and sometimes you guys just want to vent. And that's the communication that we lose with our families. Because me, I was the dad. I'm not here to argue or debate. You can do it one or two ways. You could do it screaming in pain,
Mm.
or you could just get up now and go do it. Either way, it's getting done.
Right.
You choose. And it throws a different light on it,
Yeah.
because what you don't do, I have to. And now, if I'm doing what you're supposed to be doing, I can't be doing what I'm doing or should be doing.
Right.
And you don't pay any bills in this house. And my girls looked at me and said, "Dad, why did you have to teach us to be strong, independent women? We intimidate guys." I said, "No, you intimidate the weak ones.
Mm.
You're a blessing to somebody. If you could cook, clean," because now my wife doesn't cook. She was a horse girl. She spent all her time outside in barns, and thank God I can. But that's where these life skills and understanding and mental health, and because when you're in, that's your life. That's your identity. That's who you are. And you don't want to do anything that would jeopardize you having those experiences.
Right.
And that's why you do the PT, you get the higher scores and weapons, and learn as much as you can because you want to be better than the guy next to you. Same way in the civilian world, but it's a lot more good old boy who you know. That because what I found out here in Jacksonville, Florida, it's who you know. If you don't know anybody, you don't get anything done.
Mm.
You have to take the time to get off your butt and get out there and show up and participate. Showing up is the biggest battle
Yeah.
because we end up talking ourselves out of it because we get disappointed. I go to job fairs, they're not job fairs. They want low end people. They want entry level minions. They don't want leaders because they have enough leaders. And why should they go with you? Oh, I did that. And
Mm.
how's that going to make me money in my business? And when you start looking at it from that perspective, okay, now it makes sense. Because why should you pay me if I'm not making you money? The government, like you can give me a budget, I could make anything happen. But now me financing it on my own, it's a whole nother ball game. I don't have the vast resources the US government does. And I think with most thing is patience. I had to learn patience, a lot of patience, and realizing that I needed to fill my time. It's nobody else's responsibility how I spend my time. Do I want to give it away or do I want to sell it? And what benefits comes with doing what benefits come with me giving up my dream to make yours happen? And that's what it comes down to, the understanding that when it real boils down, we're all citizens. We do things throughout our lives, and once you let your ego and your pride go, and you take those filters off your reality, because man, my ego and pride filtered so much stuff that makes sense now.
Mm.
Because and it's about leaving your legacy. What do you want to be known for? You know what? If anything, I'd be tickled to death to be known for going from a warrior to a love mindset.
Mm.
Because that whole thing is I can get compliance. One way or another, you're going to comply. And the smart way is to look at your options and be more strategic. And what I like is being James Bond.
Mm.
Yeah, I could kill you, but you know what? I don't have to.
Right.
But you come after me, that's a whole nother story. Don't violate my rights, I won't violate yours. And don't violate other people's rights to serve your selfish needs. And say, well, I'll do it because they don't know any better. Well, then shame on you for taking advantage of someone when you could have educated. And I was talking about education tonight. If you get out of the military without a bachelor's degree, you set yourself up for failure because there's so many opportunities while you're in if you take advantage of them rather than sit around and watch porn and drink beer, because that's what ends up happening in real life. And I was never part of that because I had a family. But coming out here and realizing that accept people for who they are, not what I think they should be. Because I can't tell you what it's like to be you, a
Right.
Black female, finding your hustle
Right.
and being happy. And you know what wakes you up every day? That question's been asked me so many times. I couldn't answer it before. I get it. What gets me up every day is the hope I get to do it. I get another day to see what I can do and learn something.
And that's the blessing. Like you said, it's all about mindset. It's all about that love mindset. And like you said, putting that ego down, you know? And that's a difficult transition to make especially when you've been doing it for a long time, you know?
Um, Ego will make you strive for things that you never thought you were possible to do because the ego and pride of accomplishment. And when it all comes down to it, does it really matter? All we have is this moment right now. Through technology, we can do this conversation in
Right,
two different locations.
right,
Never been able to do that in history. Now we can record what's going on and have these conversations to let people know you're not alone. They boost your ego up when you're in going, oh, you'll find a job in no time. Yeah, you can find a crap job because everybody wants you to start over, where your friends and everything were allowed to build that time that you were in. They were
right,
building up their foundation to be better at what and to get in and get to better jobs and get the experience and yada yada yada. You're behind the power curve. You got to learn to put yourself back up on the curve itself. And that's where you change your mind out of that fight everything to love and understand the circumstances a way they're presented in front of you. And
right,
now, how can you strategically maneuver to get the best outcome for yourself and others?
right. And that's the beauty. That is the beauty. I know
Yes,
we can talk, like I said, we can talk for hours and hours on it.
yes.
But I know we're coming to a close, but I want people to know how they can get in contact with you if you're interested in finding out about your program and more, more about what you're doing through your organization and, how they can, start building on making those successful transitions. So how can they get in contact with you or to find out more information?
Well, if you're here in Jacksonville, Florida, or you want to do a Zoom, because I have global reach through LinkedIn. It's www.aylesolutions.com or it's Phil Ayles at aylesolutions.com for my email. But the website will get you to my calendar. Set up a conversation because I can't help everybody.
Right.
What I can do is refer you and guide you because you honestly you have to be ready and to wake up from what your reality used to be and realize you'll never have that again. That's a bitter pill to swallow.
It is.
But
It is.
once you understand that, once you start realizing that it's not everybody else, it's you. Control you, the rest of it will come. And I never understood that because I thought, I gotta please everybody. Nah, get myself in order. I'm at peace with myself. My energy changed and went from that high stress tension down to calm and understanding. I don't take anything personally. I have nothing to prove to anybody. Let's have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get you to know who you are And I'm finding out who I am. I like having conversations like this because we need more of it. There's nothing wrong with mental health. It's actually the best thing that ever happened to me is being able to get my perspective corrected rather than looking for perfection. And perfection is a myth because we're always out doing what we did yesterday. And I look forward to see what my grandkids' lives will be. And if I can have a positive influence, I'm one generation out of the hills of Kentucky. I shouldn't have been able to do anything what I've done, but I did, and I'm thankful for it. And I'm 52, and I have my calendar for me the rest of my life.
That's right.
I just gotta I gotta teach my wife how to learn to spend. But because that causes a whole nother pressure. Because it gives you just enough to live, but not go further.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of stress off of me and knowing that I can say no. I had to learn to say no.
It's a complete sentence. I say that all the time. It's a complete sentence.
It is. And I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has been a joy having you come on and talk about this. One thing I want you to know with the How Now podcast, what's happening in our world right now may not be what's happening 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years from now. So you are always welcome to come back and let us know what's happening in your now. Let us know what's going on and helping to be that better person that you're coming with every day, with every experience, with every change of mindset. Knowledge, like I said, is power. And so as we learn, we can better respond and not react to the things that are going on around us. And that's what we need to put in our mental toolbox. I always talk about toolboxes, and that's my
Yes.
mantra for the year. Everything is about toolboxes, having the tools that we need to be able to respond to situations that are happening to us and not getting caught up in the trap of reacting to things that are going on because we don't
Yes.
understand. So, like I said, the organization that you have, the opportunities that you are creating to help people transition is going to help to to make a better life for those around us. And like you said, it gives us purpose. So when we
Mhm.
wake up every morning and we put our hand to our heart and we breathe, that's our purpose. We live another day to make a difference another day. And that's always going to be a blessing. Now, I have one more question for you. I always ask all of my guests before we go
Okay.
is how are you living in the now? And for me, when I say now, is how are you coping? How are you creating your peaceful existence? That's what COPE stands for. Create our peaceful existence. How are you
Mhm.
creating a peaceful existence for yourself now?
Getting off the couch and getting out in the community. That and stop feeling sorry for myself or depressed. And knowing that nothing's going to happen unless I get out and make it happen. Because no good has ever come from me relying on others to make decisions for me. So now I'm learning to love and open up my heart, my mind, and soul to the concepts of humanity and having empathy for people, realizing that, and I do it everywhere else in the world. Why can't we do it here
Thank you.
and give that person what happened to that pay it forward? No, we're so money hungry. I don't do it for the money, but I have bills.
Right,
The creditors don't care
right.
who you're helping, they just want their money. And it's come to where we're worse off now than we've been in a long time. but they were saying that weak men make things hard. Hard men makes things easy. Which side do you want to be on history? We're all writing it as we go.
That's it. And like you said, it's just, what is your next chapter looking like? You
Yes.
know,
It's
and
blank. Get over it.
that's it. Get out your crayons and start drawing on that blank sheet, see what you come up with.
Yes. And you know what? In a year, you'll have 365 pages. Done.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And something to go back and observe
Yes.
and enjoy. That's what it's all about. So again, Philip, I thank you so much for being here, for taking time out to share space with me and to talk about this because it's something that's happening around us every day. People are making transitions in so many different
Hmm.
ways, from the military to civilian life, from being an adolescent to being an adult. There are so many different changes that we go through and so many different stages in our life. And so it's always important to realize that the thing that connects it is that mindfulness, is that emotional intelligence, is that ability to stop and reflect on ourselves and what part we play in the grand scheme of things. We all are a part of this body. And whether we're the finger, the knuckle, the skin, whatever part we are, how do we play that part and play that part well so that way, we're a part, like you said, of the solution and not the problem.
Hmm.
So again, like I said, I thank you and know that you are always welcome back anytime. You are now officially part of the How Now family. Again, and like I said, anytime you want to come back, you're always welcome. You've got a seat here with us. So again, thank you again. Any other parting words that you want to leave with our guests before we go?
Uh, Everything starts with you.
It starts with you. Okay, doesn't get any simpler than that. Everything
No.
starts with you. All right, and with that, we say thank you for joining us on the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until I see you the next time, I say peace.